What characteristics do all fungi share?
In the earliest classification systems, fungi were classified as plants. The first classification system to recognize fungi as a separate kingdom was proposed in 1784. Researchers identified 4 characteristics shared by all fungi. Fungi lack chlorophyll. The cell walls of fungi contain the carbohydrate chitin, the same tough material a crab shell is made of. Fungi are not truly multicellular since the cytoplasm of one fungal cell mingles with the cytoplasm of adjacent cells, and fungi are heterotrophic eukaryotes. Unable to produce their own food from inorganic matter, while plants are autotrophic eukaryotes.
What is the largest terrestrial mammal in North America?
The bison, bison, is the largest terrestrial mammal in North America. It weighs 3,100 pounds, 1,406 kilograms, and is 6 feet, 1.8 meters, high.
How does an electromagnet work?
Danish physicist Hans Christian Ørsted, 1777–1851. Was the first to observe a connection between electricity and magnetism. He found that a current in a wire caused a nearby compass needle to rotate, thereby establishing that an electric current always produces a magnetic field around itself. When an electric current flows through a wire wrapped around a piece of iron, it creates a magnetic field in the iron. Electromagnets are used in a wide variety of applications, including doorbells, switches, and valves in heating and cooling equipment to telephones. Large machinery used to lift heavy loads of scrap metal, and particle accelerators.
Can cells ever change functions?
The more specialized function that a cell performs, the less likely it is for the cell to change jobs within an organism. However, there are some cells that have unspecialized functions and are able to adapt to the changing needs of the body. In mammals, a good example of cells with adapting functions would be bone marrow cells, which are responsible for producing different types of cells in the blood. Bone marrow cells produce red blood cells and 5 types of white blood cells. Slime molds of the kingdom Protista have cells that are capable of drastically changing their function. The cellular adaptations that can occur in slime molds allow them to change from single-celled amoebas to multicellular, reproductive spore producers.
What group of vertebrates were the first terrestrial vertebrates?
Reptiles were the first group of vertebrates that were truly terrestrial. There were a number of adaptations that led to their successful terrestrial life.
Besides the light year, what other units are used to measure distances in astronomy?
The astronomical unit, O, is often used to measure distances within the solar system. 1 O is equal to the average distance between Earth and the Sun, or 92,955,630 miles, 149,597,870 kilometers. The parsec is equal to 3.26 light years, or about 19.18 trillion miles, 30.82 trillion kilometers.
How has centrifugation been used in biological applications?
Centrifugation is the separation of immiscible liquids or solids from liquids by applying centrifugal force. Since the centrifugal force can be very great, it speeds the process of separating these liquids instead of relying on gravity. Biologists primarily use centrifugation to isolate and determine the biological properties and functions of subcellular organelles and large molecules. They study the effects of centrifugal forces on cells, developing embryos, and protozoa. These techniques have allowed scientists to determine certain properties about cells, including surface tension, relative viscosity of the cytoplasm, and the spatial and functional interrelationship of cell organelles when redistributed in intact cells.
Where are asteroids found?
The asteroids, also called the minor planets, are smaller than any of the 8 major planets in the solar system and are not satellites of any major planet. The term asteroid means star-like because asteroids appear to be points of light when seen through a telescope. Most asteroids are located between Mars and Jupiter, between 2.1 and 3.3 AUS, astronomical units, from the Sun. Ceres, the largest and first to be discovered, was found by Giuseppe Piazzi on January 1, 1801, and has a diameter of 582 miles, 936 kilometers. A second asteroid, Pallas, was discovered in 1802. Since then, astronomers have identified more than 18,000 asteroids and have established orbits for about 5,000 of them. Some of these have diameters of only 0.62 mile, 1 kilometer. Originally, astronomers thought the asteroids were remnants of a planet that had been destroyed. Now they believe asteroids to be material that never became a planet, possibly because it was affected by Jupiter's strong gravity. Not all asteroids are in this main asteroid belt. 3 groups of asteroids, the near-Earth asteroids, NEAs, reside in the inner solar system. The Aten asteroids have orbits that lie primarily inside Earth's orbit. However, at their farthest point from the Sun, these asteroids may cross Earth's orbit. The Apollo asteroids cross Earth's orbit, some come even closer than the Moon. The Amor asteroids cross the orbit of Mars, and some come close to Earth's orbit. The Trojan asteroids move in virtually the same orbit as Jupiter, but at points 60 degrees ahead or 60 degrees behind the planet. In 1977, Charles Cowell discovered an object now known as Chiron orbiting between Saturn and Uranus. Originally catalogued as an asteroid, Chiron was later observed to have a coma, a gaseous halo, and it may be reclassified as a comet.
What is cloud seeding?
Cloud seeding is an attempt to modify the weather to produce precipitation. A cloud contains water droplets and ice crystals. Precipitation occurs when the ice crystals grow large enough to fall as rain, snow, hail, or other precipitation. Unless the conditions are right for ice crystals to grow, precipitation does not occur. Cloud seeding is an attempt to convert the supercooled droplets of liquid water in a cloud to ice crystals. Dry ice, solid carbon dioxide, and silver iodide are the substances most often used to seed clouds to transform the water droplets to ice crystals. Seeding is most efficient when the seeding agent is dropped from an airplane on the top of a cloud.
What are the preferred and permissible blood types for transfusions?
The table below lists the blood types that are best matched with other blood types.
What are the steps in the digestive process?
There are 5 major steps in the process of digestion.
Why do golf balls have dimples?
The dimples minimize the drag, a force that makes a body lose energy as it moves through a fluid or gas, allowing the ball to travel farther than a smooth ball would travel. The air, as it passes over a dimpled ball, tends to cling to the ball longer, reducing the eddies or wake effects that drain the ball's energy. A dimpled ball can travel up to 300 yards, 275 meters, but a smooth ball only goes 70 yards, 65 meters. A ball can have 300 to 500 dimples that can be 0.01 inch, 0.25 millimeter, deep. Another effect 7 to get distance is to give the ball a backspin. With a backspin there is less air pressure on the top of the ball, so the ball stays aloft longer, much like an airplane.
Who was the first Astronomer Royal?
The first Astronomer Royal was John Flamsteed, 1646–1719. He was appointed Astronomer Royal in 1675 when the Royal Greenwich Observatory was founded. Until 1972, the Astronomer Royal also served as the director of the Royal Greenwich Observatory.
What plant produces the largest seed cones?
The largest seed cones are produced by cycads. They may be up to 1 yard, 1 meter, in length and weigh more than 3.3 pounds, 15 kilograms.
How much heat will 100 cubic feet of natural gas provide?
"100 cubic feet of natural gas can provide about 100,000 BTUs, British thermal units, of heat. A British thermal unit, a common energy measurement, is defined as the amount of energy required to raise 1 pound of water by 1 degree Fahrenheit.
Can weather be predicted from the stripes on a woolly bear caterpillar?
It is an old superstition that the severity of the coming winter can be predicted by the width of the brown bands or stripes around the woolly bear caterpillar in the autumn. If the brown bands are wide, says the superstition, the winter will be mild. But if the brown bands are narrow, a rough winter is foretold. Studies at the American Museum of Natural History in New York failed to show any connection between the weather and the caterpillar's stripes.
What are the major groups of organisms in the kingdom Protista?
There is little agreement among taxonomists on how to classify the protists, but they may be conveniently divided into 7 general groups that share certain characteristics of locomotion, nutrition, and reproduction.
How much saliva does a person produce in a day?
Saliva is a mixture of mucus, water, salts, and the enzymes that break down carbohydrates. Awake individuals secrete saliva at a rate of approximately 0.5 milliliters per minute, or an average of 480 milliliters of saliva in a 16-hour waking day. Various activities such as exercise, eating, drinking, and speaking increase salivary volume.
Is there a relationship between the size of the root system and the size of the shoot system?
Growing plants maintain a balance between the size of the root system the surface area available for the absorption of water and minerals, and the shoot system, the photosynthesizing surface. The total water and mineral absorbing surface area in young seedlings usually far exceeds the photosynthesizing surface area. As the plant ages, the root-to-shoot ratio decreases. Additionally, if the root system is damaged, reducing the water and mineral absorbing surface area. Shoot growth is reduced by lack of water, minerals, and root-produced hormones. Similarly, reducing the size of the shoot system limits root growth by decreasing the availability of carbohydrates and shoot-produced hormones to the roots.
How is the autonomic nervous system organized?
The autonomic nervous system regulates involuntary activity, which is not controlled on a conscious level. It consists of two divisions, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic division is often called the fight or flight system because it usually stimulates tissue metabolism, increases alertness, and generally prepares the body to deal with emergencies. The parasympathetic division is considered the rest and repose division, because it conserves energy and promotes sedentary activities, such as digestion.
What is the rare condition called synesthesia?
Synesthesia, or cross-perception, is a condition in which a person perceives stimuli not only with the sense for which it is intended, but with others as well. For example, a synesthete may see musical notes as color, hues, or feel flavors as different textures on the skin. Experiments have determined that the linking of the senses occurs because of some unique physical condition in the brains of these people. For example, blood flow to some parts of the brain, normally increased by sensory stimuli, decreases in sinus hits.
Why do people need sleep?
Scientists do not know exactly why people need sleep, but studies show that sleep is necessary for survival. Sleep appears to be necessary for the nervous system to work properly. While too little sleep one night may leave us feeling drowsy and unable to concentrate the next day, a prolonged period of too little sleep leads to impaired memory and physical performance. Hallucinations and mood swings may develop if sleep deprivation continues.
How many meteorites land on Earth in a given year?
Approximately 26,000 meteorites, each weighing over 3.5 ounces. 99.2 grams, land on Earth during a given year. 3,000 of these meteorites weigh more than 2.2 pounds, 1 kilogram. This figure is compiled from the number of fireballs visually observed by the Canadian Camera Network. Of that number, only 5 or 6 falls are witnessed or cause property damage. The majority fall in the oceans, which cover over 70% of Earth's surface.
Which countries have uranium deposits?
Uranium, a radioactive metallic element, is the only natural material capable of sustaining nuclear fission. But only one isotope, uranium-235, which occurs in one molecule out of 40 of natural uranium, can undergo fission under neutron bombardment. Mined in various parts of the world, it must then be converted during purification to uranium dioxide, UO2. Uranium deposits occur throughout the world, with approximately 75% of all known uranium deposits in Australia. Other countries with significant deposits are Kazakhstan, 17% of the world's total. Canada, United States, South Africa, Namibia, Brazil, Niger, and Russia. Canada is the largest exporter of uranium.
Do camels store water in their humps?
The hump or humps do not store water, since they are fat reservoirs. The ability to go long periods without drinking water, up to 10 months if there is plenty of green vegetation and dew to feed on, results from a number of physiological adaptations. One major factor is that camels can lose up to 40% of their body weight with no ill effects. A camel can also withstand a variation of its body temperature by as much as 14 degrees. A camel can drink 30 gallons of water in 10 minutes and up to 50 gallons over several hours. A one-humped camel is called a dromedary or Arabian camel. A Bactrian camel has 2 humps and lives in the wild on the Gobi Desert. Today, the Bactrian is confined to Asia, while most of the Arabian camels are on African soil.
What is the matrix in blood?
Blood is a loose connective tissue whose matrix is a liquid called plasma. Blood consists of red blood cells, erythrocytes, white blood cells, leukocytes, and platelets, thrombocytes, which are tiny pieces of bone marrow cell. Plasma also contains water, salts, sugars, lipids, and amino acids. Blood is approximately 55% plasma and 45% formed elements.
What is the Big Dipper?
The Big Dipper is a group of 7 stars that are part of the constellation Ursa Major. They appear to form a sort of bowl, composed of 4 stars, with a long handle, composed of 3 stars. The group is known as the Plough in Great Britain. The Big Dipper is almost always visible in the Northern Hemisphere. It serves as a convenient reference point when locating other stars, for example. An imaginary line drawn from the 2 end stars of the Dipper leads to Polaris, the North Star.
Which radioisotope is most commonly used for biological specimens?
The most widely used radioisotope in autoradiography is tritium, 3H. Tritium allows a resolution of about 1 micrometer with the light microscope and close to 0.1 micrometer with the electron microscope. Since hydrogen is common in biological molecules, a wide range of 3H labeled compounds are potentially available for use in autoradiography. 3H amino acids are used for locating newly synthesized proteins. 3H thymidine is used to monitor DNA synthesis. Ribonucleotides such as 3-uridine or 3H-cytidine are used to localize newly made RNA molecules. And 3H-glucose is used to study the synthesis of polysaccharides.
What is reflexology?
Reflexology is the application of specific pressures to reflex points in the hands and feet. The reflex points relate to every organ and every part of the body. Massaging of the reflex points is done to prevent or cure diseases. Believed to have been used in Asian cultures as long as 2,000 years ago. Reflexology was introduced to the United States at the turn of the century by Dr. William Fitzgerald, 1872–1942, and Eunice D. Ingham, 1889–1974. Today nearly 25,000 certified practitioners can be found throughout the world.
How are hazardous waste materials classified?
There are 4 types of hazardous waste materials: corrosive, ignitable, reactive, and toxic. Corrosive materials can wear away or destroy a substance. Most acids are corrosive and can destroy metal, burn skin, and give off vapors that burn the eyes. Ignitable materials can burst into flames easily. These materials pose a fire hazard and can irritate the skin, eyes, and lungs. Gasoline, paint, and furniture polish are ignitable. Reactive materials can explode or create poisonous gas when combined with other chemicals. Combining chlorine, bleach, and ammonia, for example, creates a poisonous gas. Toxic materials or substances can poison humans and other life. They can cause illness or death if swallowed or absorbed through the skin. Pesticides and household cleaning agents are toxic.
Where were the first successful ironworks in America?
Although iron ore in this country was first discovered in North Carolina in 1585, and the manufacture of iron was first undertaken, but never accomplished, in Virginia in 1619, the first successful iron works in America was established by Thomas Dexter and Robert Bridges near the Saugus River in Lynn, Massachusetts. As the original promoters of the enterprise, they hired John Winthrop Jr. from England to begin production. By 1645, a blast furnace had begun operations, and by 1648 a forge was working there.
Who is one of the first individuals associated with the scientific method?
Abu Ali al-Hasan ibn al-Haytham, c. 966-1039, whose name is usually Latinized to al-Hasan or al-Hassan, is known as the father of the science of optics and was also one of the earliest experimental scientists. Between the 10th and 14th centuries, Muslim scholars were responsible for the development of the scientific method. These individuals were the first to use experiments and observation as the basis of science. And many historians regard science as starting during this period. Al-Hasan is considered as the architect of the scientific method. His scientific method involved the following steps: observation of the natural world, stating a definite problem, formulating a hypothesis, test the hypothesis through experimentation, assess and analyze the results, interpret the data and draw conclusions, publish the findings.
What controls the formation of the color points in a Siamese cat?
The color points are due to the presence of a recessive gene that operates at cooler temperatures, limiting the color to well-defined areas: the mask, ears, tail, lower legs, and paws, the places at the far reaches of the cardiovascular system of the cat. There are 4 classic varieties of Siamese cats. Seal points have a pale fawn to cream-colored coat with seal brown markings. Blue points are bluish-white with slate blue markings. Chocolate points are ivory-colored with milk chocolate brown-colored markings. Lilac points have a white coat and pinkish-gray markings. There are also some newer varieties with red, cream, and tabby points. The Siamese originated in Thailand, once called Siam, and arrived in England in the 1880s. They are medium-sized and have long, slender, lithe bodies, with long heads and long, tapering tails. Extroverted and affectionate, Siamese are known for their loud, distinctive voices, which are impossible to ignore.
What are the hamstring muscles?
There are 3 hamstring muscles, located at the back of the thigh. They flex the leg on the thigh, such as when one kneels. They also extend the hip whenever one for example, sits in a chair. Hamstring injuries are probably the most common muscle injury among runners. Maintaining flexibility and strengthening the muscle helps to prevent injury. Hamstring muscles are also prone to rangery.
Does any type of wood sink in water?
Ironwood is a name applied to many hard, heavy woods. Some ironwoods are so dense that their specific gravity exceeds 1.0 and they are therefore unable to float in water. North American ironwoods include the American hornbeam, the mesquite, the desert ironwood, and leadwood, Cruchodendron ferruum, which has a specific gravity of 1.34 to 1.42, making it the heaviest in the United States. The heaviest wood is black ironwood, Olea laurifolia, also called South African ironwood. Found in the West Indies. It has a specific gravity of 1.49 and weighs up to 93 pounds, 42.18 kilograms, per foot. The lightest wood is Esquinamene hispida, found in Cuba. With a specific gravity of 0.044 and a weight of 2.5 pounds, 1.13 kilograms, per foot. Balsa wood, Acroma pyramidal, varies between 2.5 and 24 pounds, 1 to 10 kilograms, per foot.
What is quicksand?
Quicksand is a mass of sand and mud that contains a large amount of water. A thin film separates individual grains of sand so the mixture has the characteristics of a liquid. Quicksand is found at the mouths of large rivers or other areas that have a constant source of water. Heavy objects, including humans, can sink when encountering quicksand and the mixture collapses. However, since the density of the sand/water mix is slightly greater than the density of the human body, most humans can actually float on quicksand.
What are Fibonacci numbers?
Fibonacci numbers are a series of numbers where each, after the second term, is the sum of the two preceding numbers, for example, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. They were first described by Leonardo Fibonacci, c. 1180 c. 1250. Also known as Leonard of Pisa, as part of a thesis on series in his most famous book Liber Abaci, the Book of the Calculator. Published in 1202 and later revised by him. Fibonacci numbers are used frequently to illustrate natural sequences, such as the spiral organization of a sunflower's seeds. The chambers of a nautilus shell, or the reproductive capabilities of rabbits.
When offered a choice between plastic or paper bags for your groceries, which should you choose?
The answer is neither. Both are environmentally harmful, and the question of which is the more damaging has no clear-cut answer. 12 million barrels of oil, a non-renewable resource, are required to produce 100 billion plastic bags. Plastic bags degrade slowly in landfills and can harm wildlife if swallowed. And producing them pollutes the environment. In contrast, 35 million trees are cut down to produce 25 million brown paper bags, accompanied by air and water pollution during the manufacturing process. Although each can be recycled, the EPA estimates that only 1% of plastic bags and 20% of paper bags are recycled. Instead of choosing between paper and plastic bags, bring your own reusable canvas or string containers to the store. And save and reuse any paper or plastic bags you get.
Does ocean water circulate?
Ocean water is in a constant state of movement. Horizontal movements are called currents, while vertical movements are called upwelling and downwelling. Wind, tidal motion, and differences in density due to temperature or salinity are the main causes of ocean circulation. Temperature differentials arise from the equatorial water being warmer than water in the polar regions. In the northern hemisphere, the currents circulate in a clockwise direction, while in the southern hemisphere the currents circulate in a counterclockwise direction. In the equatorial regions the currents move in opposite directions, from left to right in the north and from right to left in the south. Currents moving north and south from equatorial regions carry warm water, while those in polar regions carry cold water.
Are the stings of jellyfishes and Portuguese man-of-war fatal to humans?
The stings of a jellyfish can be very painful and dangerous to humans, but they are generally not fatal. Most stings cause a painful, burning sensation that lasts for several hours. Welts and itchy skin rashes may also appear. Only the sting of the box jelly, or sea wasp, Chironex fleckeri, can result in death in humans. The box jelly is the only jellyfish for which a life-saving, specific antidote exists.
What does pH mean when applied to soil?
Literally, pH stands for potential of hydrogen and is the term used by soil scientists to represent the hydrogen ion concentration in a soil sample. The relative alkalinity acidity is commonly expressed in terms of the symbol pH. The neutral point in the scale is 7, soil testing below 7 is said to be acidic. Soil testing above pH 7 is alkaline. The pH values are based on logarithms with a base of 10. Thus, a soil testing pH 5 is 10 times as acidic as soil testing pH 5. while a soil testing pH 4 is 100 times as acidic as soil testing pH 6.
How are diamonds weighed?
The basic unit is a carat, which is set at 200 milligrams, 0.00704 ounces or 1/142 of an avoirdupois ounce. A well-cut, round diamond of 1 carat measures almost exactly 0.25 inch, 6.3 millimeters, in diameter. Another unit commonly used is the point, which is 1/100th of a carat. A stone of 1 carat weighs 100 points. Carat as a unit of weight should not be confused with the term carat used to indicate purity of the gold into which gems are mounted.
Why is the sky blue?
The sunlight interacting with Earth's atmosphere makes the sky blue. In outer space, the astronauts see blackness because outer space has no atmosphere. Sunlight consists of light waves of varying wavelengths, each of which is seen as a different color. The minute particles of matter and molecules of air in the atmosphere intercept and scatter the white light of the sun. A larger portion of the blue color in white light is scattered. More so than any other color because the blue wavelengths are the shortest. When the size of atmospheric particles are smaller than the wavelengths of the colors, selective scattering occurs. The particles only scatter one color and the atmosphere will appear to be that color. Blue wavelengths especially are affected, bouncing off the air particles to become visible. This is why the sun looks yellow. Yellow equals white minus blue. At sunset, the sky changes color because as the sun drops to the horizon, sunlight has more atmosphere to pass through and loses more of its blue wavelengths. The orange and red, having the longer wavelengths and making up more of sunlight at this distance, are most likely to be scattered by the air particles.
How many layers does Earth's atmosphere contain?
The atmosphere, the skin of gas that surrounds Earth, consists of 5 layers that are differentiated by temperature. The troposphere is the lowest level. It averages about 7 miles, 11 kilometers. In thickness, varying from 5 miles, 8 kilometers, at the poles to 10 miles, 16 kilometers, at the equator. Most clouds and weather form in this layer. Temperature decreases with altitude in the troposphere. The stratosphere ranges between 7 and 30 miles, 11 to 48 kilometers, above Earth's surface. The ozone layer, important because it absorbs most of the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation, is located in this band. Temperatures rise slightly with altitude to a maximum of about 32 degrees Fahrenheit 0 degrees Celsius. The mesosphere, above the stratosphere, extends from 30 to 55 miles, 48 to 85 kilometers, above Earth. Temperatures decrease with altitude to -130 degrees Fahrenheit -90 degrees Celsius. 45 The thermosphere, also known as the heterosphere, is between 55 to 435 miles, 85 to 700 kilometers. Temperatures in this layer range to 2696 degrees Fahrenheit 1475 degrees Celsius. The exosphere, beyond the thermosphere, applies to anything above 435 miles, 700 kilometers. In this layer, temperature no longer has any meaning. The ionosphere is a region of the atmosphere that overlaps the others, reaching from 30 to 250 miles, 48 to 402 kilometers. In this region, the air becomes ionized, electrified, from the sun's ultraviolet rays. This area affects the transmission and reflection of radio waves. It is divided into 3 regions: the D region, at 35 to 55 miles 56 to 88 kilometers. The E region, heaviside canally layer, 55 to 95 miles 88 to 153 kilometers. And the F region, Appleton layer, 95 to 250 miles 153 to 402 kilometers.
What are the major oceans?
Most geographers have recognized 4 major oceans: Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic for many years. In 2000, the International Hydrographic Organization, an intergovernmental organization dedicated to safety in navigation and support of the marine environment, delimited a 5th ocean called the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean extends from the coast of Antarctica to 60 degrees south latitude. It encompasses portions of the Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific Oceans.
How many miles of blood vessels are contained in the body?
If they could be laid end to end, the blood vessels, arteries, arterioles, capillaries, venules, and veins would span about 60,000 miles, 96,500 kilometers. This would be enough to encircle the Earth more than 2 times.
Is it possible to buy green electronics?
Electronic manufacturers are designing products that are more environmentally friendly. Consumers should look for products that contain fewer toxic constituents. Use recycled materials in the new product are designed for easy upgrading and disassembly. Are energy efficient. Use minimal packaging. Have leasing or take-back options for reuse or recycling. Meet performance criteria that show they are environmentally preferable.
What are the nitrogenous bases of DNA?
The nitrogenous bases have a ring of nitrogen and carbon atoms with various functional groups attached. There are two types of nitrogenous bases. They differ in their structure. Thymine and cytosine have a single ring structure, while adenine and guanine have double ring structures. When James Watson, 1928, and Francis Crick, 1916 to 2004, were imagining how the bases would join together, they knew that the pairing had to be such that there was always a uniform diameter for the molecule. It therefore became apparent that a double ring base must always be paired with a single ring base on the opposite strand.
How can the amount of lead in tap water be reduced in an older house having lead-containing pipes?
The easiest way is to let the tap run until the water becomes very cold before using it for human consumption. By letting the tap run, water that has been in the lead-containing pipes for a while is flushed out. Also, cold water, being less corrosive than warm, contains less lead from the pipes. Lead, Pb, accumulates in the blood, bones, and soft tissues of the body as well as the kidneys, nervous system, and blood-forming organs. Excessive exposure to lead can cause seizures, mental retardation, and behavior disorders. Infants and children are particularly susceptible to low doses of lead and suffer from nervous system damage. Another source of lead poisoning is old, flaking lead paint. Lead oxide and other lead compounds were added to paints before 1950 to make the paint shinier and more durable. Improperly glazed pottery can be a source of poisoning, too. Acidic liquids such as tea, coffee, wine, and juice can break down the glazes so that the lead can leak out of the pottery. The lead is ingested little by little over a period of time. People can also be exposed to lead in the air. Lead gasoline additives, non-ferrous smelters, and battery plants are the most significant contributors of atmospheric lead emissions.
What is the speed of light?
Light travels at 186,282 miles, 299,792 kilometers per second or 12 million miles per minute.
What is a USB port?
The Universal Serial Bus, USB, connectors first appeared on computers in the late 1990s. It has become the most widely used interface to attach peripherals, such as mice, printers and scanners, external storage drives, digital cameras, and other devices to a computer. unlike older serial ports and parallel ports. USB ports are easy to reach and can easily be plugged in even while the computer is in use.
Why is Legionnaire's disease known by that name?
Legionnaire's disease was first identified in 1976 when a sudden, virulent outbreak of pneumonia took place at a hotel in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where delegates to an American Legion convention were staying. The cause was eventually identified as a previously unknown bacterium that was given the name Legionella pneumophila. The bacterium probably was transmitted by an airborne route. It can spread through cooling tower or evaporation condensers in air conditioning systems, and has been known to flourish in soil and excavation sites. Usually, the disease occurs in late summer or early fall, and its severity ranges from mild to life-threatening, with a mortality rate as high as 15%. Symptoms include diarrhea, anorexia, malaise, headache, generalized weakness, recurrent chills, and fever accompanied by cough, nausea, and chest pain. Antibiotics such as erythromycin, TM, are administered along with other therapies. Fluid replacement, oxygen, etc., that treat the symptoms.
What are the chief gold-producing countries?
China is the leading gold-producing nation in the world, followed by Australia, South Africa, and the United States. In the United States, Nevada is the leading gold producer. Commercial usage in 2009 was estimated as follows: jewelry and arts, 72%. Industrial, mainly electronic, 7%, dental and other industrial uses, 21%.
How is solar energy converted into electricity?
Solar energy is converted into electricity using photovoltaic PV cells or concentrating solar power plants. Photovoltaic cells convert sunlight directly into electricity. Individual PV cells are combined in modules of about 40 cells to form a solar panel. 10 to 20 solar panels are used to power a typical home. The panels are usually mounted on the home facing south or mounted onto a tracking device that follows the sun for the maximum exposure to sunlight. Power plants and other industrial locations combine more solar panels to generate electricity. Concentrating solar power plants collect the heat, energy, from the sun to heat a fluid, which produces steam that drives a generator to produce electricity. The three main types of concentrating solar power systems are parabolic trough, solar dish, and solar power tower, which describe the different types of collectors. Parabolic troughs collectors have a long, rectangular, U-shaped reflector or mirror focused on the sun with a tube, receiver, along its length. A solar dish looks very much like a large satellite dish that concentrates the sunlight into a thermal receiver that absorbs and collects the heat and transfers it to the engine generator. The engine produces mechanical power, which is used to run a generator converting mechanical power into electrical power. A solar tower uses a field of flat, sun tracking mirrors, called heliostats, to collect and concentrate the sunlight onto a tower-mounted heat exchanger, receiver. A fluid is heated in the receiver to generate steam, which is used in a generator to produce electricity.
What are the major functions of the respiratory system?
The major functions of the respiratory system are, gas exchange. The respiratory system allows oxygen in the air to enter the blood and carbon dioxide to leave the blood and enter the air. The cardiovascular system transports oxygen from the lungs to the cells of the body and carbon dioxide from the cells of the body to the lungs. Regulation of blood pH, which can be altered by changes in blood carbon dioxide levels. Voice production as air moves past the vocal cords to make sound and speech. Olfaction, or the sense of smell, occurs when airborne molecules are drawn into the nasal cavity. Innate immunity, providing protection against some microorganisms by preventing their entry into the body or by removing them from respiratory surfaces.
Which element has the highest density?
Either osmium or iridium is the element with the highest density, however. Scientists have yet to gather enough conclusive data to choose between the two. When traditional methods of measurement are employed, osmium generally appears to be the densest element. Yet, when calculations are made based upon the space lattice, which may be a more reliable method given the nature of these elements, the density of iridium is 22.65 compared to 22.61 for osmium.
What were Lothar Meyer's contributions to the periodic table?
Lothar Meyer, 1830 to 1895, a German chemist, prepared a periodic table that resembled closely Mendeleev's periodic table. He did not publish his periodic table until after Mendeleev's paper on the periodic table was published in 1869. It is believed his work was influential in causing some of the revisions Mendeleev made in the second version of his periodic table, published in 1870. Specifically, Meyer focused on the periodicity of the physical properties of the elements, while Mendeleev's focus was the chemical consequences of the periodic law.
What are the natural predators of the penguin?
The leopard seal, Hydrarga leptonix, is the principal predator of both the adult and juvenile penguin. The penguin may also be caught by a killer whale while swimming in open water. Eggs and chicks that are not properly guarded by adults are often devoured by skuas and sheathbills.
What is creosote?
Creosote is a yellowish, poisonous, oily liquid obtained from the distillation of coal or wood tar. Coal tar constitutes the major part of the liquid condensate. Obtained from the dry distillation or carbonization of coal to coke. Crude creosote oil, also called dead oil or pitch oil, is obtained by distilling coal tar and is used as a wood preservative. Railroad ties, poles, fence posts, marine pilings, and lumber for outdoor use are impregnated with creosote in large cylindrical vessels. This treatment can greatly extend the useful life of wood that is exposed to the weather. Creosote that is distilled from wood tar is used in pharmaceuticals. Other uses of creosote include disinfectants and solvents. In 1986, the United States Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, began restricting the use of creosote as a wood preservative because of its poisonous and carcinogenic nature.
What regulates body temperature in humans?
The hypothalamus controls internal body temperature by responding to sensory impulses from temperature receptors in the skin and in the deep body regions. The hypothalamus establishes a set point for the internal body temperature, then constantly compares this with its own actual temperature. If the two do not match, the hypothalamus activates either temperature decreasing or temperature increasing procedures to bring them into alignment.
What is the Richter scale?
On a machine called a seismograph, the Richter scale measures the magnitude of an earthquake, i.e., the size of the ground waves generated at the earthquake's source. The scale was devised by American geologist Charles W. Richter, 1900 to 1985, in 1935. Every increase of one number means a tenfold increase in magnitude.
What are the types of human body shapes?
The best known example of body typing, classifying body shape in terms of physiological functioning, behavior, and disease resistance, was devised by American psychologist William Herbert Sheldon, 1898 to 1977. Sheldon's system, known as somatotyping, distinguishes three types of body shapes. Ignoring overall size, endomorph, mesomorph, and ectomorph. The extreme endomorph tends to be spherical, a round head, a large, fat abdomen. Weak penguin-like arms and legs, with heavy upper arms and thighs but slender wrists and ankles. The extreme mesomorph is characterized by a massive cubical head, broad shoulders and chest, and heavy muscular arms and legs. The extreme ectomorph has a thin face, receding chin, high forehead, a thin, narrow chest and abdomen, and spindly arms and legs. In Sheldon's system there are mixed body types, determined by component ratings. Sheldon assumed a close relationship between body build and behavior and temperament. This system of body typing has many critics.
Why is liquid water more dense than ice?
Pure liquid water is most dense at 39.2 degrees Fahrenheit 3.98 degrees Celsius and decreases in density as it freezes. The water molecules in ice are held in a relatively rigid geometric pattern by their hydrogen bonds, producing an open, porous structure. Liquid water has fewer bonds, therefore, more molecules can occupy the same space, making liquid water more dense than ice.
What is crown glass?
In the early 1800s, window glass was called crown glass. It was made by blowing a bubble, then spinning it until flat. This left a sheet of glass with a bump, or crown, in the center. This blowing method of window pane making required great skill and was very costly. Still, the finished crown glass produced a distortion through which everything looked curiously wavy. And the glass itself was also faulty and uneven. By the end of the 19th century, flat glass was mass-produced and was a common material. The cylinder method replaced the old method, and used compressed air to produce glass that could be slit lengthwise, reheated, and allowed to flatten on an iron table under its own weight. New furnaces and better polishing machines made the production of plate glass a real industry. Today, almost all flat glass is produced by a float glass process, which reheats the newly formed ribbon of glass and allows it to cool without touching a solid surface. This produces inexpensive glass that is flat and free from distortion.
What do the octane numbers of gasoline mean?
The octane number is a measure of the gasoline's ability to resist engine knock. Two test fuels, normal heptane and isooctane, are blended for test results to determine octane number. Normal heptane has an octane number of 0 and isooctane a value of 100. Gasolines are then compared with these test blends to find one that makes the same knock as the test fuel. The octane rating of the gasoline under testing is the percentage by volume of isooctane required to produce the same knock. For example, if the test blend has 85% isooctane, the gasoline has an octane rating of 85. The octane rating that appears on gasoline pumps is an average of research octane determined in laboratory tests with engines running at low speeds, and motor octane, determined at higher speeds.
What is the difference between an ophthalmologist, optometrist, and optician?
An ophthalmologist is a physician who specializes in care of the eyes. Ophthalmologists conduct examinations to determine the quality of vision and the need for corrective glasses or contact lenses. They also check for the presence of any disorders, such as glaucoma or cataracts. Ophthalmologists may perform surgery or prescribe glasses, contact lenses, or medication, as necessary. An optometrist is a specialist trained to examine the eyes and to prescribe, supply, and adjust glasses or contact lenses. Because they are not physicians, optometrists may not prescribe drugs or perform surgery. An optometrist refers patients requiring these types of treatment to an ophthalmologist. An optician is a person who fits, supplies, and adjusts glasses or contact lenses. Because their training is limited, opticians may not examine or test eyes or prescribe glasses or drugs.
Who invented the pacemaker?
Paul Zoll, 1911 to 1999, invented an electric stimulator device to deliver electrical impulses to the heart externally. In 1958, biomedical engineer Wilson Greatbatch, 1919, in cooperation with doctors William M. Chardak, 1915 to 2006, and Andrew A. Gage, 1922, invented the first internal pacemaker. It was a small, flat, plastic disc powered by a battery. It was implanted into the body and connected by wires sewn directly onto the heart. The wires emitted rhythmic electric impulses to trigger the heart's action. Pacemaker batteries now last from 6 to 10 years.